For more perspective on this crisis, I want to turn to Egyptian journalist, award-winning columnist Mona Eltahawy, who's in New York. Mona, if you can, give us a sense of how Libya is different than, say, what we've seen in these other countries like Tunisia and Egypt.
Well, Suzanne, what we saw in Tunisia basically was this breaking down of the door of fear. It showed us that we can topple a dictator. Egypt was showing us how we can topple a very entrenched dictator who was one of America's best friends in the region. Where Libya is different is that Muammar Gadhafi has unleashed this horror on Libyans, but yet they still come. So what I think he's teaching other dictators is that even when you do unleash this terrible violence, hundreds of people killed in 7 days, they will continue to fight for freedom. And it's telling people in the region that that freedom is worth it. And Libyans are inspiring everybody watching right now.
And we have seen pictures of Egyptians actually leaving Libya, and I guess they are working there as well. What is the relationship between Egyptians and the Libyans?
Well, Egyptians, in the same way that other migrant workers have been going to Libya, because Libya is a country that has tremendous oil wealth. It's oil wealth that Muammar Gadhafi has basically squandered and denied to his people. But he does host a large number of migrant workers and often treats them very badly. I mean, we've heard over the past few years how terribly Egyptian as well as other migrant workers and other undocumented workers have been treated in Libya. The worry for Egyptian workers now is that Gadhafi himself and his son, Saif al-Islam, have both implicated, obviously bogusly, both Egyptians and Tunisians in Libya of trying to kind of bring their revolution to Libya. And so Egyptians are kind of trying to rush out because they're worried that their lives also will be in danger, as well as just the general danger of being there during this awful bombardment.
And Mona, what can the United States do? What can countries outside of Libya do, considering that this is such a closed society and a closed country?
Well, the United States and Europe are quite different with their relationship with Libya. But what I want from the United States is a really strong position from President Obama. I mean, Gadhafi isn't a great friend of the United States. So why isn't President Obama stepping out and saying, step down now? We heard John Kerry saying that Gadhafi is irredeemable. He absolutely is. He's been in power for 42 years. What more proof do people want? And this slaughter of his people must end. When it comes to the Europeans and multinational companies and in the US, lobbyists for Libya, it's shameful that they continue to have business relationships with a country that is slaughtering its people. It's shameful that, as we heard earlier, there is an arms fair in Abu Dhabi that is basically stocking up weapons for dictators in the region who want to basically slaughter anyone fighting in the way that Gadhafi is.
Mona, aside from tough talk from the Obama administration, is there something that Americans can do, the United States, to actually impact what is taking place in that country?
I think beside the moral stand and the outrage, I think the United States and every other country must push for some kind of no-fly zone over Libya so that Gadhafi doesn't continue to use his air force against unarmed pro-democracy protesters, and also to prevent any mercenaries being flown in, because we hear of a lot of mercenaries being used to fight Libyans. There's a lot the world can do. Britain and France suspended their arms licenses to Libya. It's shameful that all these countries, knowing what a dictator Gadhafi is, have been selling weapons to him. So there's a lot besides just speaking out. Protect Libyan people today. That is the most urgent thing.
All right, Mona Eltahawy, thank you so much for your time.